You ever feel proud because you saved an extra $500 this month? You skipped dinners, cancelled subscriptions, delayed that course you wanted to take, put the money in your savings account, and then you check your bank balance and it barely moved. Meanwhile, your friend who spends too much somehow started a side business, bought assets, and is making more than you. And you're sitting there thinking, wait, I'm the responsible one. Why does it feel like I'm falling behind? Look, this is uncomfortable, but sometimes saving more can actually make you poorer, and most people never understand why. My name is Prime, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people accidentally sabotage their own wealth. If you're someone who works hard, tries to be disciplined, saves consistently, but still feels stuck financially, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today we're talking about opportunity cost, not the boring textbook version, the real life version that silently drains your future, the lie we were taught. Here's the thing, from the time we were kids we were told, save your money, don't take risks, put it in the bank, be responsible, and saving is important, but here's what most people don't realise. Saving is a strategy for preserving money, not growing it, and those are two completely different games. According to data from the Federal Reserve, the average savings account interest rate in the US has historically hovered below 1% for years, excluding short spikes. Meanwhile, long-term average inflation in the US sits around 3%. Let me translate that. If inflation is 3% and your savings earns 1%, you're losing 2% every year. You're not growing. You're shrinking, slowly, quietly, politely. 2. The math nobody shows you. Let's make this simple. You save $10,000. You put it in a savings account earning 1%. After 10 years, you'll have about $11,046. Sounds decent, right? Now factor in 3% inflation, the purchasing power of that $11,046, roughly $8,200 in today's dollars. You made $1,046, but you lost buying power. This is where it gets really interesting. Now let's say instead you invested that $10,000 into a broad market index averaging 8% annually, which historically the S&P 500 has averaged roughly that over long periods, according to historical data from sources like Vanguard and Morningstar. After 10 years at 8%, you'd have about $21,589. Even after inflation, you're massively ahead. That difference isn't small, it's life-changing. 3. Opportunity cost, the silent wealth. Killer opportunity cost is simple. Every time you choose one option, you give up another. But here's the psychological trap. When you save money in a bank account, it feels safe, it feels responsible, it feels smart. But what you don't see is what you're giving up. Let me give you an example. Imagine you have $20,000. Option A, keep it in savings, sleep peacefully. Option B, use it to start a small business, buy income-producing assets, invest in a skill that increases your salary by $15,000 per year. Most people choose option A. Why? Because the downside is visible in option B. But the downside in option A is invisible, and humans are wired to fear visible loss more than invisible decay. Behavioral economists call this loss aversion, and it's powerful. 4. The salary trap. Now you might be thinking, Prime, I'm not investing because I don't have enough money yet. I need to save more first. I get it. But let me show you something. Imagine you make $60,000 per year. You aggressively save $10,000 per year for 10 years. That's $100,000 saved. Impressive. But what if instead you spent $5,000 on learning a high-income skill, networking strategically, relocating for a better opportunity, and that increased your salary to $90,000. Over 10 years, that's $300,000 more income. Even after taxes, that dwarfs what you saved. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Sometimes saving more keeps you small, because you're optimizing the wrong variable. You're optimizing expenses instead of income. 5. The psychological shift. Saving feels productive. Investing feels uncertain. Spending on growth feels reckless. But here's what most people don't realize. Wealth isn't built by minimizing loss. It's built by maximizing upside. And your brain hates upside, because upside requires uncertainty. There's a famous study from behavioral finance showing people feel the pain of loss about twice as strongly as the pleasure of gain. So you'd rather avoid losing $1,000 than potentially gain $5,000, even if mathematically the risk-adjusted decision favours growth. Your brain isn't built for wealth, it's built for survival. 6. The 40-year example. Let's zoom out. Let's say you save $5,000 per year from age 25 to 65. That's $200,000 total saved. If it earns 1%, you end up with roughly $244,000. If it earns 8%, you end up with around $1.3 million. Same person, same discipline, different vehicle. The difference? Understanding opportunity cost. And this is why two equally disciplined people end up in completely different financial positions. It's not effort, it's direction. 7. When saving actually hurts you. There are 3 scenarios where oversaving makes you poorer. 1. Hoarding cash. During inflation, cash loses purchasing power. During high inflation periods, like the spikes seen globally in 2022 to 2023, real cash value eroded quickly. Holding too much cash became expensive. 2. Delaying skill. Investment. If a $2,000 course increases your income by $10,000 per year, not taking it costs you $8,000 annually. That's negative ROI. 3. Avoiding calculated risk. Starting that side hustle, launching that channel, investing early. The biggest wealth accelerators usually happen in short bursts of courageous action, not decades of cautious saving. 8. The objection section. Now you might be thinking, okay Prime, but investing is risky. Yes, but here's the shift. There's risk in action, and there's risk in inaction. Inflation is risk, stagnant salary is risk, technological disruption is risk. Doing nothing is not neutral, it's a decision, and sometimes it's the most expensive one. 9. The balanced framework. Let's be practical. I'm not saying drain your emergency fund. YOLO your savings. Gamble your future. Here's the framework. 1. Build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. That's your sleep well at night money. 2. Invest consistently in growth assets, index funds, businesses, assets with upside. 3. Allocate money to income expansion skills, certifications, relocation, networking. 4. Think in 10-year horizons. Wealth compounds. So do skills. 5. Ask this question before every financial decision. What am I giving up by choosing this? That last one changes everything. 10. The story that changed my perspective. I once knew 2 people, same age, same salary, same city. Person A saved aggressively. Person B invested aggressively. 10 years later, Person A had security. Person B had leverage. Person A was stable. Person B had optionality. And optionality is power. Because wealth isn't about how much money you have. It's about how many choices you have. 11. The real revelation. Here's what most people don't realize. Money in a savings account feels like progress because the number goes up. But real wealth is about what your money is doing. Is it producing, compounding, expanding your earning ability? Or is it just sitting there, shrinking quietly? This is where it gets really interesting. The wealthy don't think in terms of saving more. They think in terms of, how can this dollar work harder than I can? And once you adopt that mindset, everything changes. Look, if you're broke, saving matters. If you're unstable, saving matters. But if you're stuck, it might not be a saving problem. It might be an opportunity cost problem. Stop asking, how can I cut $50? Start asking, how can I create $5,000? Stop optimizing survival. Start optimizing leverage, because the biggest risk isn't losing money, it's wasting time. And time, unlike money, doesn't compound. If this shifted your perspective even slightly, hit that subscribe button, because we don't just talk about money here, we talk about how to think about money, and that's where real wealth begins. My name is Prime, and I'll see you in the next one.